What's up guys, it's me Lumos Theromax, and here today we're actually going to set up Black Lantern October with the first video of many in a series hopefully for this month. And today we're going to be focusing on the Book of Black, or one of the most cursed books inside all of DC. And it's one of the most horrifying experiences you can really mess with if you ever do. But before we get too far into it, make sure you like and subscribe down low because the majority of you guys aren't subscribed. And that being said, let's get into it. So originally, the Book of Black was essentially this book that was written by some unknown author, but it contained the prophecy of the Blackest Night inside the original Book of Oa, which is this massive book cataloging the entire experience of everything within the Green Lantern Corps and the Guardians' history that they want you to know. And this is one of the great examples of them essentially removing something from the Book of Oa because they were a little bit afraid of it. And this book was, as they removed those pages and contained them all together, it basically became this cursed thing known as the Book of Black. And this thing is really messed up, man. It has a lot of features and a lot of different things going on for it, but some of the unique things to note about it before we get into its wild hexes are it can be added to, and as a result of it just being prophesized for the Blackest Night, that it actually will contain some sort of weird connection to Nekron and anybody who will follow Nekron. So let's just talk about some of the hacks that the Book of Black actually can offer you, because the Book of Black is a book of power, knowledge, and prophecy, and these three things are definitely what define it 100%. This book can also manage to ensnare you and drag you within its pages and condemn you for an eternity within the confines of its pages. And even characters such as like Lissa Drac, for example, who's a story witch who literally can devour stories and held the Book of Parallax, has fallen prey to such hacks that it offers. And some of the more interesting things about it, outside of just the generic stuff, is anything written inside the Book of Black 100% becomes true, which is completely unbelievable. And you have a variety of times where this happens. I mean, Skar, who is a rogue guardian who is kind of messed with by Nekron, literally writes things into happening, like messing with the science cells, and it just happens. And of course at the end of the series you have Kyle writing in the end that everyone inside it can escape it, and thus those people contained inside it manage to escape. This is pretty wild stuff. Not only can it do that, but it also manages to essentially contain like everything, every story inside it, both the past, present, and the future of everyone who lives, essentially, which is absolutely wild because, I mean, there's all sorts of stories and characters that exist within DC, and it really defines that this book is one of the most powerful books containing all possible stories. And another interesting thing about it is, once again, having weird ties to Nekron, it can drag anyone from anywhere as long as they are wielding it to agents of Nekron, that being Black Hand or even Skar, who both manage to wield it and write in it, which is really interesting. And this book also contains the doorways to both life and death, which is pretty wild to think about as well, and has these can chain and absorb any constructs from the most powerful lanterns that exist in verse all simultaneously, which is pretty crazy. But let's get to an idea of exactly how powerful these hacks can go and how powerful the Book of Black really is with its terrifying power. So one of the things to consider is there are very few people who were ever at any point in time capable of wielding this book, and one of which is essentially Krona, and this guy boloed the entire emotional spectrum simultaneously, so this guy's got some wild stuff. And he did set it up to be utilized by others, but he's pretty much the only person we see capable of not drawing in it to resist its effects and even draw people out of its pages, which is wildly insane. So we pretty much already have some weird emotional spectrum scaling. And to add to that, the entire color core, which is essentially like all of the most powerful lanterns from each core respectively, all get ensnared by its chains simultaneously. And this is impressive because this includes an Atrocitus who was like casually resisting Martian Manhunter's mind hacks and it giving him PTSD for like weeks afterwards. And this also included the most powerful wills in existence, such as Sinestro, and this guy was capable of resisting Volthoom's efforts within this exact same run, as well as a variety of things throughout space and time, and Sinestro's got some awesome resistances. But not only him, as I said earlier, it contained a Story Witch who held the Book of Black, or which held the Book of Parallax, which is wildly impressive. And to really slam home the raw AP of this thing, Sinestro might have been able to move through the pages, but he could never escape it. Somebody we didn't even see a demonstration of being capable of moving through these pages is Larfleeze. And Larfleeze, for example, was capable of resisting the higher dimensional beings known as the House of the gods of the House of Tuathan, and these characters were capable of puncturing holes through dimensions, and from where exactly is a little bit convoluted. You can say through the source wall, you can say through like the bleed leading into each individual world. It gets complicated, but higher dimensional gods and stuff like that couldn't even affect Larfleeze, but he was helpless within the pages of the Book of Black, much like everyone was who's been ensnared by it, outside of what seems like Krona. As I said, this thing is essentially inescapable once you are contained by it, and no one can really resist its influence or escape it once inside. And unless Krona haxes you out of it, or you use your own power, use its own power against it, because anything drawn in the Book of Black becomes real. And Kyle, at the end of the specific series where it's most notably used, essentially draws in it that everyone inside it will escape it, can actually escape it. This thing is like unbelievable in terms of what it offers. Some other really cool things about the Book of Black is that it contains a variety of verses, although it's a little unclear like exactly what verses this thing contains. But we do at least have one that's notable, and then we have a series of experiences or even thoughts seemingly that are either written down or it's just the Book of Black's interpretation of Black Hand's story and his journeys throughout his time wielding it. And they're creepy as could be, but they are kind of interesting to check out. So definitely check out these scans here to get an idea of what it's like to actually look into the Book of Black outside of the drawings we just traditionally see within like the major stories that exist. But that being said, where is the Book of Black now? A lot of hype behind it, so what's going on with it? So the last we saw the Book of Black, it was actually Ganthet and Guy Gardner, of all people, who managed to grab the book from Lysidrak and keep it onside the planet of Oa. Ganthet actually buries this motherfucker in the ground on Oa because he was terrified of anybody wielding it, and he did it real deep within the crust of Oa. But where things get a little bit complicated and a little bit convoluted is Oa's actually been blown up since then. So as far as we know, it's probably somewhere out in space in some unknown sector doing whatever it is the Book of Black does, because an explosion like that is not going to destroy an artifact as powerful as the Book of Black, considering we had multiple lanterns throwing everything they had at it and nothing was happening. Be sure to tell me what you guys think down low about the Book of Black. And let me know if you're enjoying Black Lantern October, because this is only the first of many videos I plan on coming out with this October that are really going to define the spooky side of the Black Lanterns. And I really just, on the last minute note, check out these scans. I want you guys really to get an idea of how terrifying this thing is, especially if you get ensnared by it. Chained it for eternity in the worst experiences you could possibly imagine. So tell me what you think. Be sure to like and subscribe both to myself and any of the Theromax Corps members. And we'll see you next time, Lanterns. It's been a blast.